Talktainment Radio Worldwide Sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse.
All righty, welcome to the January the 16th, 2019 edition of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. And this is radio the way it should be heard via TalkTainmentRadio.com. Now, if you would like to get involved with the program, we certainly would like for you to do that. You can call 1-877-932-9766. You can also do this. You can go to the YouTube channel and type in the word Talktainment. And I believe hit the space bar, and then you can type in the word radio, scroll down to Talktainment number 2, and guess what? You are there. If you'd like to write to the show, you can do so by doing this, the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com, and hopefully I could get a chance to read it. Facebook. /Talktainment is another way. Facebook.com, that is, /Talktainment is another way to get to the program. But we would prefer that you go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage, and all you have to do is click Listen Live, and whammo, you're there. Hit the subscribe and like button. Okay, got all of that out of the way. On the January the 16th, 2019 edition. This is called Phone Calls and Gmails Volume 1, which means there should be a Volume 2 or a Volume 3. And before we get started today, on today's program, I'd like to pay close attention to this, that 55 years ago today, I believe, 4 girls were murdered in Birmingham, Alabama by the KKK. Denise McNair, Carol Robertson, Cynthia Wesley, and Addie Mae Collins, all killed in that bombing in Birmingham, I believe it was, 55 years ago today. Just keep that in your thoughts. All righty, today, phone calls and Gmails, Volume 1. What we're going to do is have Mr. Fuller address the Gmails that I do have, and he will do that, and also take your phone calls. I think we have somebody on getting ready to call now, but what we'll do, we'll have him address all those issues. There is no specific topic other than that. So, Mr. Fuller, let me say, as I usually do, good morning, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
You are still learning. Okay. Hey, you know what? Before I start on the phone calls and Gmails, was there or is there a particular news item, because I know you read various publications, was there a particular news item or something that stood out to you that you would like to address before we get started?
Well, definitions recently in the news. What is meant by white supremacist or white supremacy? What is meant by white nationalism? And what is meant by Western civilization? I've been talking about white supremacy. my book title, one of the complementary or supplementary titles, is about white supremacy. The entire capital letters, the system of white supremacy. So recently, I've been seeing the term white supremacy being used more and more in the news. And here again, recently, in the last, I'll say, 6 weeks, it has become almost like center stage in a lot of the discussions. But very few people given a very concise or broad or in-depth explanation of what it is, how it works, or even I would say, a popular definition. And then you throw in white nationalism, and what that means, I'm not sure what other people would have it mean. I say racism is white supremacy is racism. You don't need to go any further than that. But these 3 terms have become prominent in the news, and I understand on Capitol Hill in the last few days, according to the reports that I have read. Some member of the legislature has used the terms.
Steve King, I think it was.
Yes,
King, out of Iowa.
From Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been called to my attention. And there's a lot of controversy about him doing that, using the terms. It's kind of controversial about what context, according to him, the terms were used. But anyhow, it's almost like the term should not be used even in a discussion. But I believe the term should be used all the time, because if you're talking about government, you're talking about white supremacy. That's the only government. There is no other government, according to compensatory counter-racist logic. So the word shouldn't be hushed up, in my opinion. They should be talked about, and whether or not these words should refer to a situation that does exist, or doesn't exist, or should exist, or should not exist, and that should be done thoroughly in all venues of people interaction everywhere on the planet. It should be daily discussion and get that nailed down. What is it? Whether or not it should exist, whether or not it shouldn't exist, and why. And does it exist? And what does it produce? What does it produce in all areas of activity? What should it produce? What should be the result of it? Etc. It should be talked about thoroughly, in my opinion. And that's just one thing that's been on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
There's an editorial in this morning's Washington Post, in the editorial page. I think that I don't have it in front of me, but it says, kind of paraphrases something out of the movie Casablanca that I'm always referring to, where the character Captain Renault says, "I'm shocked to find that there's gambling going on here." And so in the editorial page this morning, one of the headlines on the bottom of the editorial page is something similar to that, paraphrasing, saying, shocked to find that there's racism going on here. Referring to the legislator, Mr. King's remarks.
Yes. Okay. All righty. All right. Very, very good. If you get a chance during break, maybe you can get that article there in the Washington Post. Okay. Let's do this. Let's go to a phone call. Okay, caller. You are now on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
How you doing, Mr. Fuller?
Still learning.
That's great. My question is concerning the recent events about the R. Kelly scandal. I would like for you to know, or I would like to find out, what would be the correct codified response to the black community concerning this issue. A lot of people in the black community are concerned with the charges brought against R. Kelly. Rightfully so. If he has done these things, he should be charged. But should the black community now decide to not so much jump on the bandwagon and down R. Kelly, but is it correct for us to put out there that there are other individuals who are charged with these same crimes and charged before him, before Bill Cosby, but it seems as if all the black men that are being charged with this crime are being put towards the forefront? What is the correct way to address this issue?
Well, the codified position is and has been and will be, in my opinion, what I've written in the textbook, The Victims of White Supremacy, and in all of my broadcasts and discussions about it. You just simply say, you don't have to just pick out incidents. You just broad brush it, because in the system of white supremacy, these things are manifest anyway. They are built into the system itself. Kidnapping, rape of all types is essence of the system of white supremacy itself. I mean, so you don't have to just cite incidents and say, oh, I'm shocked and shocked and shocked. I mean, about this is happening and that's happening. Black people are doing this and white people are doing this. You would simply say the whole society, the entire system of government, all 9 areas of activity, support all of this type of behavior in the system of white supremacy. That's what it is. It's based on rape, mass rape. You rape whole continents. You seduce people. You lie to people. You do all kinds of things that shouldn't be done in the system of white supremacy. And not only do you do these things, you glorify it in your history books. Slaughter people. And then stand there, you know, with your foot on their chest, the dead bodies, and, you know, and tear open your shirt and beat on your breast and say, this is a great thing. I'm a conqueror. I'm an explorer. I'm a discoverer. I am a person that goes around with sword in hand all the time. Everybody's got a sword. Oscar has a sword. Robert E. Lee has a sword. You got the bird of prey called the American eagle. That's a bird of prey. You see it sitting on top of a flagpole. Now the flag is supposed to be quote unquote representative of peace and harmony and justice and unity and everybody getting along. But on the top of many flagpoles up over the flag itself, you will see a statue or statuette of an eagle, and it's called the American eagle. Now, what is an eagle known for? A bird of prey. It pounces down on helpless creatures. The eagle eye, I mean, they see everything. I mean, it soars up high and sweeps down and sinks its claws into some smaller animal. It's known for that. Well, that's the nature of an eagle, you know, but should that be the nature of people? Then should that be a symbol of a whole people? An eagle or any bird of prey? You would think that mostly it would probably be some other creature that doesn't prey on other creatures if you're going to use that as a symbol. But in a nutshell, in answer to your question, the code says, under the system of white supremacy, many people have been harmed who should not be harmed. There's 4 things that's in the textbook that and when things like this come into a discussion, you can just always go to those 4 things. Many people have been harmed who should not be harmed. Whether who did what on what given day and all like that, you just say that. That's number 1. Number 2, many people are to blame. Black people are to blame for things that they do that shouldn't be done. So you say many people should be blamed, are to blame. Number three, the people who are most to blame, underline most, are hiding in plain sight. That includes a whole lot of people who call themselves priests, as an example. All right? Been doing it. Not only for a week or two or something like that, but for hundreds of years, possibly a couple of thousand at least. All right? Priests out there waving candles around and burning incense and speaking in all types of so-called holy language and whatnot. Don't let them get a little boy back there in that rectory. You find out what real reality really is and what that religion is all about, maybe. I mean, look into that while you're doing all these other things. And then number three is the people who are most to blame are hiding in plain sight. That would be most of the white supremacists on the planet. They're guilty of just about everything you can name when it comes to all kinds of seduction and all types of deception and all type of sexual follies, you might call them, whatnot. And then the last statement is the people who are most to blame are all white supremacists. Now, those four things are in the textbook. And you can, in answer to that, the caller's question, you can always just go to those four things. Say, oh, I can cover that. I mean, slam dunk. Whatever. Because there'll be more things coming up. I mean, just thing after thing. This black celebrity, this black rapper, this black person, this black congressman, this black, did this and did that. Well, look at who raised everybody who is on the scene now. Look at the most powerful people on earth who have the most powerful minds on earth and who set all this up and who have glorified it like forever. And then when it happens, you get this, I'm shocked to find that this is going on here. Well, you got a system of white supremacy. What does that mean? Stay shocked about that each and every minute of each and every day. And then replace it with a system of justice, which will be shocking since you have never seen it. I have never seen it. I've heard about it. Doesn't even have a decent definition.
All righty. TalkTainmentRadio.com is a 24/7, no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, and religion, and, of course, politics. Now, here's one that I'm going to share with you. Now, for all of you who just love jazz, listen, Talktainment Radio has the Jazz Showcase Show with Ed Dozier. Now, it's on Saturdays and Sundays here on TalkTainmentRadio.com. And if you love that, to take a break from all the stuff that goes on in the news and you want to hear some sounds, straight ahead, smooth, and all the genres of jazz, tune in right now to the Jazz Show with Ed Dozier, Saturdays and Sundays exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com. And as a matter of fact, you can go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage and click on programs and see a list of all the programs that TalkTainmentRadio.com has to offer, the dates and the time, and a little bio of all the people that run those or host those programs. All that and more from TalkTainmentRadio.com. That is radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby, and I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And today, January the 16th, 2019, we have entitled the program Phone Calls and Gmails, Volume 1. And we just had Mr. Fuller address a caller. We were going to do a Gmail, but we have another caller on the line, so we will take that caller. Caller, you are on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Can I be heard? Hello?
Caller, you are now on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Yes, I have a question for Mr. Fuller and a short comment. Mr. Fuller, what is the correct way to handle a situation where someone has made a falsehood, or when people make falsehoods, untrue statements? What's the proper procedure to handle that?
First of all, you have everybody who is involved in on it. By in on it, you mean present, to talk about it, and you find out exactly what was said and by whom, and then call for an investigation to find out. You don't make any accusations. You just say, did this happen? And what was the cause of it happening? So if it was something somebody did, well, you check that out and find out who did it and what was done, whether or not it should have been done or should not have been done, or if it was something that was said, the same thing. And don't make an accusation. Just say what happened, did it happen, and who did it? Who did whatever was done? All right? Because in order to have justice on the planet, you first get the correct information. And so I call it the 3 I's: inquiry, investigation, indictment. 1, 2, 3. Inquiry, investigation, indictment. Now, for black people, stay in the inquiry lane. Sometimes I have a problem pronouncing that word, as you can see. But that means asking questions. Don't make accusations. That's an indictment. See, when you make an indictment, you're making an accusation. You say, you are guilty of this, that. Never do that. Because in the system of white supremacy, if you're black, you're going to have a hard time proving it, particularly if it's a white person that you are accusing of something. If it's a white person that you're accusing of something, you're definitely going to have a very difficult time proving it, because you're going to have to prove whatever it is, that accusation, by other white people. Otherwise, your voice is not going to mean anything anyway in the system of white supremacy, as a rule. And then that's the indictment, okay? But now the investigation also, that second I, that should be the duty of someone else. You don't investigate. You merely make the inquiry, just like you just did by calling in today. What do you do? Did this happen? First of all, did it happen? And who do you think may have done it? Should it have happened? Whatever it was, and then you discuss it from there. Is that the person that did it? Was it Miss Helen Jones? Was it Mr. Henry Schumann? Was it John Smith? Whomever it was. And what did he do? What did she do? Should it have been done, whatever was done? Is that the kind of language you use? Or did you did you do something or say something that you should not have done or said? And what was it? Why did you do it? That's another thing. Why did you do or say what you did? Let them explain. If you find out who did it, who said it. But the first thing you want is an inquiry. You want someone to look into it. You present it, say, I have reason to believe this happened. This was said or this was done. And I need assistance in finding out who did what, when, where, and should it have been done or should it not have been done. And let somebody else determine that during the investigation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Go
ahead, sister.
Okay. Then the other thing was, thank you for that, Mr. Fuller. Now, here, quickly, Mr. Bobby, when you opened the show, did you say that 55 years ago 4 little girls were killed in a bombing in Birmingham?
Yeah, I was sent that notice in this morning. Yes, I think it was Birmingham, Alabama. The 4 girls.
Yes, sir. Well, I want you to know that happened on September 15th, 1963.
Okay, thank you very much for that correction. September the what now?
September 15th, 1963.
Okay.
Blast killed 4 little girls.
Okay.
There were 22 other people injured, and there was a 5th little girl that was injured in the church. She survived.
Yes.
She was the sister of one of the 4 children, but that was September 15th,
Okay.
1963.
Okay, thank you for that correction. I stand corrected. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, got corrected on that. September of 1963. Okay, very good. Very good. That's why I love the listeners here, because if you make a mistake, then somebody can correct it. So that's good. All righty. All right, let's see here. Let's do this. And you may have to take this on the other side, Mr. Fuller, but I'll go ahead. Let's see here. Mr. Bobby, can you ask Mr. Fuller these questions? Number 1, why do non-white people who use the counter-racist code still have a tough time solving the problems that comes with being subject to the crimes of the system of white supremacy, racism in all areas of people activity?
Because you still have the system of white supremacy. So as long as you have a problem, you have a problem. So you just keep on. We're in a war, and we have already been made prisoners of war. We were born in a prison. The name of the prison is called the system of white supremacy. There is no other government on the planet worthy of the name government except the system of white supremacy. So if you are born as a prisoner of war already in that system, because it's a wartime system, the entire system is geared toward making war on people of color, and you have already been captured before you came from the womb. If you're a person who is classified as non-white, then you have to work within that system that you're in, because there is no other system. There's no such thing as working outside of the prison. You have to work from the prison. So you're always working as a prisoner to dismantle the prison, because there's no way to get out of the prison. There's nowhere to run. You have to actually dismantle the prison and make that system, which is the prison, into another system. And that system, logically speaking, would be called the system of justice. The slogan is, the mantra is, the code is, replace white supremacy with justice. Replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. Now, what is justice? Justice is 2 parts: guaranteeing that no person is mistreated, and guaranteeing that the person who needs help the most gets the most constructive help. And that's what every person on the planet should wake up every morning with that in mind, that wherever you go, whomever you encounter, you go on a job, wherever you are. Most people go on some type of job. Most people have some type of assignment. Wherever you are, keep that in mind. You're supposed to be in the process of guaranteeing that no person, any person around you, any person that interacts with you, no person is mistreated. You can usually tell when somebody's being mistreated, or you can sense it.
Okay, Mr. Fuller, I'm going to have you right there, and then we'll pick that right back up.
Right.
TalkTimeRadio.com, we go where you go. Check us out on 94.1 WGRN. Podcasts are all available. Download the TalkTimeRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. More of that Gmail and more of Mr. Fuller's explanation, and of course your phone calls. All that and more coming up next.
TalkTainmentRadio.com is proud to present the compensatory concept. It is an effective system for countering the effects of white supremacy. TalkTainmentRadio.com is able to carry the first hour. However, the cost for the second hour is exceeding our limited budget. That is why we ask for your kind assistance in keeping the second hour on the air. If you believe like we do, help us in this struggle for justice. Go to the gold donate button on the talktainmentradio.com web page and hit the gold donate button. That's the gold donate button. And please donate. Help us to keep the second hour of the compensatory concept on the air. Thank you.
Stand by for an important announcement for renters and investors. You have probably heard about this bad economy and high foreclosure rate. I'm here to bring you hope. Every foreclosed property is a blessing or a deal for a new buyer or investor. These properties are selling every day all over Central Ohio for several reasons. They are equity rich, worth tens of thousands of dollars above their price. There is down payment money available and remodeling funds if needed. Don't let the doom and gloom news keep you from your dream of home ownership. Call Lincoln Realty today at 865-9614. That's 865-9614. Call now. Always remember, these times, like all times, are good times if we but know what to do with them. They also have programs for investors who want to get off the couch and run with the big dogs. Call Linco today at 865-9614 or log on to repohomeslist.com.
For the best home fragrance and beauty products, shop Ash Cooking online.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Made with 100% natural quality ingredients and handcrafted with your family in mind, Ash Cooking products are better than those other guys. Ash Cooking candles, incense, body butter, face moisturizer, and hair moisturizer are priced just right, and you can get yours at 10% off with coupon code TALK17. Support this 100% black-owned business and get your home and body smelling and feeling alright.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Shop online at www.ashkickin.com.
If you or someone you know is abusing drugs and or alcohol and want to stop the abuse, contact APDS at 1409 East Livingston Avenue. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. APDS is certified by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and primarily funded through the Adam H. Board. Fees are based on your income and Medicaid is always accepted. For more information, call 614-253-4448.
Are you ready for a high school that allows you to work at a place that is right for you? Are you ready to earn a certification in healthcare, business, or manufacturing while achieving your high school diploma? Then you are ready for Life Skills High School, a free public school option for high school students 16 to 21 years old. Learn more about your free high school educational options at lifeskillshs.org or call them at 1-800-888-7992. Life Skills High School, education that fits your life.
This is Al Edmondson, owner of a Cutter Brother Rest Barbershop. I'm calling on all barbers and beauticians. It's time for us to unite as one. We can serve our communities better together. Join the Ohio Black Barber Beauty Network. For more information, visit www.obbn.org or call 614-427-3226 to get more information. Be the change that you want to see in your community. Join our network.
Sex Code War by Kahari Inaharo. The author of the Essence Magazine bestseller Race Code War is releasing his second book, Sex Code War. Be on the lookout for Sex Code War.
Here's an idea. You've heard of the notion of pay it forward? It comes from the 2000 movie Pay It Forward. Basically, the premise is helping someone with no expectations of payback, providing assistance to someone, passing information on, simply doing a good deed for a total stranger, and instead of allowing them to pay it back, ask them to pay it forward. Doing favors for other people and asking them to do the same. The principle is the same as multi-level marketing, except that instead of soap or vitamins, it's generosity between strangers that is being passed on. Pay It Forward is mentoring. It's volunteering in your community. It's shoveling a neighbor's snow or cutting an elderly person's grass for them or taking a senior to the store. Don't wait for someone else to do something good. Do it yourself. It starts with you. Talktainment Radio strongly embraces the notion of pay it forward. In fact, We just did.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTimidRadio.com.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Go ahead. Make my day.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You got the power.
TalkTimidRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTimidRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. I am Mr. Bobby, the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Nellie Fuller Jr. And our topic today is, on January the 16th, 2019, is Phone Calls and Gmails Volume 1. And Mr. Fuller, you want to finish your thought that you were having on that question that I asked, and then we'll move on.
Yes. I want to talk about this thing about justice. That's the only thing to settle on. You don't have to talk about racism. That will come up on its own. And then you handle it according to what is in the textbook, The Victims of White Supremacy. Selections from it on an individual basis according to your own judgment. That's what I wrote the book for, that you can get by going to producejustice.com. But having said that, I made up a definition back in 1994 for the word justice because I didn't particularly care for the dictionaries that I was looking in for the definition of justice. So I said that justice, in my opinion, should be made up of two parts. Part one, guaranteeing that no person is mistreated at any time for any reason. And number two, guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. Underline constructive. The person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. Start with the person that needs constructive help the most. Now, how that would work, like everything in the code book, is supposed to be something practical, something you can use, directed to individuals. So in answer to the question, every day, everywhere on the planet, in the system of white supremacy, starting with the victims of white supremacy, and hopefully the people who are not victims, presumably white people, they can join in if they care to, but the book is written for the victims of white supremacy, the prisoners of war. Mm-hmm. So you start by saying, okay, in every situation, you ask a question. Is anybody here in this work situation being mistreated? You start your day that way. All right, folks, I mean, we're all here. Good morning, everybody. I'm just giving a kind of a, you might say, ragged illustration.
Yes, sir.
But I think it makes the point. Good morning, everybody. You walk into the room. You're always courteous to everybody. Don't let anybody be more courteous than you. That's a part of the code. In every situation, don't let anybody be more courteous than you. That's your manner. That's the codified way of doing things. So you say good morning to everybody, friend and foe, whatever. All right? Now, is anybody here being mistreated here in this work facility? That may be an odd way to start the day, but it should. I think it will work wonders. Is anybody here being mistreated? Don't everybody speak at once. Just hold up your hands, and we'll walk through it. And does anybody here need help, constructive help, that they're not getting? Something that's going on here in the work facility. I mean, some part of your work that you're baffled about. You don't know how to go about doing it. You don't know who to ask. So I'm asking now, as the foreman, as the president of the company, whatnot, is there anybody here who is not getting the constructive help that he or she needs? Two questions. Is there anybody being mistreated? Is there anybody here that needs help and not getting it in this work facility? And let's go down the list of it. It might be 10 people in the room, 15 people. Try to go through it as fast as you can, get the day started. But you start with the person that needs help the most, and you start with the person who says that they're being mistreated the most. I mean, that's the way of producing a thing called justice. And you wrap that up, all of that, before that day even gets started, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
You assign somebody to take care of the person who is being mistreated, wrap that up, is it 8 o'clock now or 9 o'clock? Before 10 o'clock, you want that taken care of, okay? Everybody who says they're being mistreated, find out who's doing the mistreatment and how, get to the bottom of that, and then by 10 o'clock, that's supposed to be taken care of, at least by noon.
Okay.
Or whenever you can. And the other person who needs help, and you start with the person that needs the most help, back there on that machinery or whatever it is they can't figure out, start with them first. Make sure that that person knows exactly what to do and how to do it. They're not frustrated anymore. They're not going to get a bad report again because they are frustrated and don't know how to do it because somebody's not telling them. They're not getting the correct information from the people that are supposed to give it to them. Make sure you got that, okay? So that this is cleared up for the rest of the day.
All right.
Start every day like that.
Mm-hmm.
Every place on the planet. That's the compensatory, codified, counter-racist way.
All righty, we got that one. Okay, let's go to the phone lines. Line number 1. Okay, caller, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby and Mr. Fuller. This is Reggie from Charlotte, North Carolina. Mr. Fuller, I actually was listening in just now, and I think you may have answered my question. But my question would have been around how do I, on my job, how do I proactively motivate white people to end racism, white supremacy? Now, I work in a corporate environment, 9 to 5 type of position. I don't manage people. I have somewhat of a secluded position, but I know that I work around a lot of older white women who are suspected white supremacists. My interactions are pretty, avid daily, but I don't manage people, so I don't have a lot of people under me to influence. So I guess my basic question is, how do I proactively, some basic things to proactively motivate them to end racism, white supremacy?
Just by what I just said. You in your interaction with them, no matter whether it's a lot of interaction or just a little interaction, everything must have a constructive result. And you always solve all problems by what? I keep saying this every week. All problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. You'll say, Miss Graham, what are we doing today? Or whatever interaction you might have on whatever level. What are we doing here in this facility? What am I doing? What am I supposed to do? What is it I'm not supposed to do? And why? All right? And is it constructive? See, that's the key word. Because anything that a black person is involved in that's constructive is a death sentence to the system of white supremacy. As long as it's constructive activity, black people are programmed to always be involved in something that is non-constructive. That's the system of white supremacy demands that. So you assume you're always in a white supremacist environment anyway, anywhere on the planet. Regardless of how tame it might look, you're still in the system of white supremacy. You're still that prisoner of war. So as a prisoner of war, you want to replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. And the procedure is, for every black person, is what I'm doing constructive? And if it's not constructive, why is it not constructive? Why am I doing this? Is it contributing anything that is of constructive value? See, because the antidote for the system of white supremacy is constructive activity among non-white people. Anything, no matter how small, and no matter how long the day is or short, whatnot, Just ask yourself all day, is this constructive? Just a question. Is this that I'm doing, is this that those people down the hall, is it constructive? And if it's constructive, how is it constructive? Who is it serving? And you just ask questions about that. And don't interfere with the answers that you get when you're talking to white people, particularly. You ask a question, put a question mark behind it, and wait for the answer. And then have another question in mind that you're going to ask. Stay away from making statements. That's real important. Statements, you have to start explaining yourself and all like that. You say, I'm going to stay away from that.
Yes, sir.
What works smoother than anything is you have one question right after another. Why? Because the process of questions and answers usually it's a faster way to get to where you need to be. It might not be where everybody wants to be, but it'll certainly take them where they ought to be. And that's whether it's white or non-white.
Yes, sir. TalkTameRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTameRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. If you would like to get in contact with the show, you can do so by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, @gmail.com. It is at this point that we have Mr. Fuller briefly discuss his book before we take the next phone call. Which caller, just hang on, and we'll have Mr. Fuller speak about his book. Mr. Fuller, go ahead, please.
The main title of the book is called The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. The Revised Expanded Edition also has another title. In fact, there's 3 titles on the cover of the book. The second title is A Compensatory Counter-Racist Code. Now, that's the most prominent title you see right there in the center of the book. And it's the Revised Expanded Edition, 2016. And down at the bottom is another title, a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism. Racism being defined as white supremacy, meaning there's no other form of racism anywhere on the planet called Earth. All racism comes in 2 words, white supremacy. There are no other supremacies based on color other than white supremacy. So you can't get that mixed up. Some people say that, well, there are some people who are black supremacists. Well, people might call themselves that, but that's not what they are. Because you can't have white supremacy and black supremacy in the same planet at the same time. Why? Because that's not logical. That's why. That's impossible. So you forget that. You say, well, I know some people that, well, they say that they're black supremacists. Well, you don't argue with them. You just look around and see whether that's true. You know, because you can't have white supremacy and black supremacy on the same planet at the same time, nor should you have black supremacy or any type of supremacy based on color. You should have supremacy based on justice. That's all. Justice is supreme. That's an ideology. And what is that? Guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help each and every minute of each and every day. That will take care of everything. And when you set that as your goal, as a universal man and a universal woman operating in the universe, rather than white supremacists and their victims, which is what all that you do have now, then you have what you should have ultimately, and that is an earth that is dominated by this thing called peace, which is what no one has ever had anywhere in recorded history. But getting back to the point, the Compensatory Counter-Racist Code is supposed to show, the textbook that is, how each individual person, each and every day, can do what it takes to dismantle this system of white supremacy. And by this constructive activity, the way you talk, the things that you do, the things you don't do, the things that you say, the things that you don't say. And this is how it's done, by individual persons, individual prisoners of war. And that's what the book is supposed to be about. All of the do's and don'ts, because everything is about do's and don'ts. Everything. Don't do certain things and you get a certain result. Do certain things and you get a certain result. And same way with what you say, because saying is a way of doing. How you talk to people, what you say when you talk, and what you don't say. All the words that you use, the kind of definitions you use for the words that you use, they're here in the textbook. And the addition to it, which is called the Counter-Racist Word Guide, I had to put it in a separate volume. Couldn't crowd it in all one book. It'd be too thick to carry around. But you can get the volumes by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com.
Okay.
And what will come up on the screen is the method for ordering.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Fuller. Okay, let's see. Let's go to the callers. Okay, caller, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Fuller, I have a question. I recently bought a house about 3 years ago. The plumbing pipes collapsed, and I had to go through my insurance company to get my house repiped. They recently denied it, saying because of the age of the house, they're not going to give me any financial money. My question to you, they forced me to get insurance to get a mortgage, but then they turn around and say they're not going to help me when I need an insurance claim filed. Is that not white supremacy? Because I'm using a lawyer to try and fight this claim.
According to the code, anything that happens to a non-white person in the system of white supremacy that should not happen is the fault of the white supremacists. That's not a matter of whim, and certainly might not be a matter of law, but it is a matter of logic. You have a system of white supremacy. You are a prisoner of war in that system. You are in captivity. This is a war. So the white supremacists are always abusing their prisoners of war because it was a war that never should have been made in the first place. So you always expect that type of abuse. And when it comes to a thing like housing, I'd just like to say this. I think the white supremacists in the last, and this is just an opinion of mine, in the last 15 or 20 years, when black people start getting serious in the Northwestern Hemisphere about being homeowners, the so-called American dream, the white supremacists immediately got busy and started saying, what we're going to do, we're going to make them slaves to a house. I'm going to say that again. Make every black person who's kind of moving up the ladder, so to speak, and want to get out of those apartments and whatnot, and get out of those that urban setting, I mean, where the housing is completely inadequate, and get into the new suburbias and all of that. What we're going to do, we're going to throw up a whole bunch of houses that look real pretty on the outside and completely falling apart on account of the materials that they're made of. And we're going to bait all these black people with money into these houses. And then they're going to fall down around their ears every day every time they reach for a doorknob, the doorknob is going to come off. All right, here you go, $75 right there. $85, $140 here up under the sink, and the bathroom, the tiles are coming off. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, and that type of thing. Now, that's just my suspicion, but I think it's warranted that they are going to intend to make many, not all, but many black people actually slaves to a house. It used to be making you a slave to a car payment, and that's still kind of going along road.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So, you just, hey, you don't have time to drive your car except to work. And then when you get off from work, you're getting in that same car going to your second job. But other than that, you're just getting red light fever in traffic. That's your whole life, going from job to job, trying to pay for the car that you're using to go from job to job. And then every now and then you get a little window where you get, a few days off to go somewhere and do something that you want to do in your car. But for the most part, that car has enslaved you. That's like a plantation tool, all right? Because you're paying so much for it, and the car is falling apart all the time. The maintenance of it, the insurance on it, and all like that. See, that's how they're slowly baiting black people into this so-called, possession favor, disaster rather, where you become a slave to your possessions, and because you really don't own anything. You just possess it. You're using it. You're actually renting it. You're renting that car. You don't really own the car. The car owns you. The house, you don't really own it. You never own it. You're still paying all kinds of inflated taxes on it and all like that. And that's just a place that you go to sleep between jobs. And, well, really, you could almost do that in a tent. If that's all you're going to do with your life, just become a slave to your possessions. So kind of watch what you try to possess. Be careful about accumulating things, piling up things. Because even when you get ready to move, and most black people have to move all the time, all right, because you fall behind in this and fall behind at that. And so you have a lot of possessions now that's sitting out there on the curb. And what happens? All right, you got to get rid of them. You got to get rid of everything that you call yourself accumulating, as capital. But it's really not capital. You just got a lot of stuff. A lot of it you never really should have had in the first place. Stop buying stuff. Put that money away. You're going to need it. Stop piling up stuff. I mean, that pool table that you think about getting, forget about it. Go somewhere and play pool, somewhere else in some pool hall and whatnot. And so you walk out and leave it when you get ready. You don't have it somewhere sitting in a garage that you don't use. You can't park your car in there because the pool table's in there with a whole bunch of stuff stacked on top of it. You got to watch that. They'll tempt you into doing these things. And they do it with the ladies too, piling up stuff. Stuff here, stuff there. And then you got to move it. Because you're going to move. You're going to be forced to move. Another highway is coming through after you've been there for 8 years. All right? So you're forced to move. And you don't even know where to move. So now you got your stuff in storage. And you're paying for that. Then that gets foreclosed on. They come and break the lock because you get behind in it and all like that. Then they auction it off. So you have to watch that, particularly in the Northwestern Hemisphere, because the white supremacists are planning on a lot of that for black people who are able to get a little bit of money.
Wow. The white supremacists are making us a slave.
Oh, yeah, and everything you do. They don't have another plan.
Yeah.
They don't have another plan other than that.
To our
but
possession.
You have to slice into that plan and say, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Well, everybody's doing this, buddy. Don't you want to impress your friends?
Got to leave it there for the first hour, Mr. Fuller. TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio the way it should be heard. Thanks for listening, and we will see you on the other side in the second hour.
Thanks for listening to the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
the world's greatest radio.
The most important question in all racial matters is why. One should always ask it.
Radio, the way it should be heard.
You've got the power. The world's greatest radio. Talktainmentradio.com. Talktainment Radio, worldwide sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Welcome to the second hour of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. on the world's greatest radio, and that is TalkTainmentRadio.com. In fact, we go where you go. And again, you're in touch with TalkTainmentRadio.com, and this is Radio the Way It Should Be Heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host of the Compensatory Concept. Mr. Fuller is on the line waiting to take your calls, and we're doing also Gmails today. As a matter of fact, on this day, January the 16th, 2019, the title of the show is Phone Calls and Gmails Volume 1, which should mean that we are going to have a Volume 2 sometime later in the year as the Gmails pile up. In the first hour, I didn't check what was sent to me, but I was corrected by this young lady, and I appreciate it. But over 55 years ago, 4 girls were murdered in Birmingham, Alabama by the KKK. Denise McNair, Carol Robertson, Cynthia Wesley, and Addie Mae Collins. In September of 1963, as the caller corrected me, and she added more information to that I didn't know, and it was very good. So you might want to go back and check that second hour, and we appreciate that. Anytime that we make a mistake or misquote, hey, because we all are still learning. So thank you very much for that. Mr. Fuller has been, he answered this last question, and it was very compelling thought that he mentioned that we, the white supremacists, are making us a slave to our possessions. You have to keep that in mind, because they are. He mentioned a car and so forth, and you're working for this back and forth. And this is what they do. A gentleman had called in about a house and a plumbing issue that he was having, and I guess the insurance company didn't want to pay for it, and so now he's got to go through the legal way to get that done. Anyway, Mr. Fuller was explaining that. He will also take your calls. 1-877-932-9766 is the number you call. As a matter of fact, there's someone on the line now. Go ahead, caller. You are on, Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
How you doing, Mr. Fuller?
Still learning.
All right, I have 2 quick questions and a comment. You were talking about the 3 I's earlier, the indictment, investigation, and inquiry. You made a comment about the investigation, that we're not supposed to do the investigation part on our own, let somebody else do that. Speaking logically, when you first said that, the first thing that popped in my mind is, why would I trust the investigation part to somebody else? Well, if they bring me back false information. That's my first question. My second question was on your definition of justice. Is it correct to automatically assume that non-white people are always going to be the people who need the most help in the system of white supremacy? And thirdly, I love your show. I love the information you give, and I would like to know, is this the only way we can get in contact with you, Mr. Fuller, if someone would like to speak with you or personally try to get you or hire you for a speaking engagement. Thank you. And I'll take the questions and answers off air.
All right, thank you. Mr. Fuller?
Yes. Well, as a prisoner of war, you can only deal with the guards, the wardens, who, under the system of white supremacy, are always white. Okay? You know, that's just, you know, if you put it in your mind about a prison has, you know, for the prisoners have no authority at all. That's how you should look at yourself. You have, you know, you're just a prisoner. You were born in prison. And your prison uniform is your color. That's your uniform, okay? So you're a person of color on the planet Earth. You're born in prison. Keep that in mind. So you're not really trusting, but at the same time you are trusting, because you have to trust for everything that you get: food, a mattress to sleep on, whatever books you're allowed to read, whatever little so-called entertainment and recreation you're allowed to participate in. That's all under the power of the people that run the prison. Just keep in mind, we are in a world prison. No matter where you go, no matter what island you go to, the white supremacists dominate whatever's going on there, directly or indirectly. Even in places where you don't see a single white person, they still dominate it. That's still their possession. That's still something that they dominate if you're a person of color, because they dominate you wherever you are in the prison system. And the prison system is worldwide. No place to run, no place to hide. So in the inquiries, that's all you can do anyway. Just ask. That's all you can ask. You just ask the warden what you want. You have to. There's nobody else to ask. There's no mysterious people. I mean, coming through the walls of the prison, you might say, that when the sun goes down, that you can confer with, and then they go outside the walls mysteriously and cause all kind of miracle things to happen and come back the next morning and it's all resolved. No, it's nobody to go to except the wardens of the prison, the commandants of these death camps, which is what we call most of the ghettos really are. Black people being killed by the authorities of the prison directly, or rather indirectly, and indirectly by black people killing each other. And we call it black communities and black neighborhoods. You shouldn't wish none of that on anybody, because all these are just quarters of the prison. So in answer to your question, you have to. You can't make the investigation. If you try to make the investigation in the Northwestern Hemisphere, now you're working against yourself, because they'll say, hey, the fruits of your investigation we don't accept. Well, you may not accept the fruits of their investigation, but at least when they put it on paper, here's the way that works. They're likely to indict themselves. That's where the investigation and indictment will lead.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you pointed out. You just say, these things are happening, or I think they're happening, and I want somebody to investigate it.
Okay.
And when they investigate it, usually they are doing something that they shouldn't be doing.
Yes, sir.
And so the contradiction will show up in their report.
Okay.
So you don't write reports on the investigation. Let somebody else do it.
Okay. Now, he said something about speaking engagements or something. He needed you to answer that. Will you do that? And I think that's what it was.
Oh, me making speaking engagements?
Yeah.
No, the only speaking engagements I make since 2007 is like here on TalkTainmentRadio.com and occasionally on some of the AM, FM stations.
Mm-hmm.
I don't travel anymore.
Okay.
And things, and it's another reason I shouldn't have been doing that in the first place. And actually, I would like to have it that I'm not doing any of that now, even on the radio, because I don't want everything to become built around Neely Fuller.
Okay.
That thing about that personality cult, you become your own personality. That's what the book is supposed to do. Make each and every black person his or her own leader. You're no longer looking for a leader. You've had leaders. You got leaders now who have come and gone in the history books. We don't need to keep piling on leaders. I mean, and everybody's sitting back on a log because we've been trained that way to wait on the maximum leader, the final leader. We have been led, and we have been led to a thing called logic. That's what all the information that comes to us is about. So, what is logic for? It's to make each and every person his or her own leader. That's correct logic. I mean, when you teach a baby, the baby shouldn't, just doesn't come back to the nest, keep looking for guidance. And among animals, they kind of send out that signal. At a certain point, you are your own leader. That's what a cat will tell kittens. At a certain point, I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know. Now, that's the main thing. Get everything that you need to know, because if you don't have everything you need to know, then you're going to have to keep coming back. It's just like, what do they call rerun? I mean, that character in one of
Yeah,
right. In other words, you keep coming back to the college. You never go out. There's some people who become, I understand, I heard this term back in the 1940s, professional students. Well, we're all students because you're always supposed to be learning, but you're supposed to be able to learn something and hold on to it and be able to stand on your own 2 feet. Birds do that. Bees do that. The birds don't keep coming back to the same nest that they were raised in, saying, "Where's Mama? Where's Papa?"
Yeah, that's
but
true.
black people are trained to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Which way did the white folks go? I mean, because I don't know nothing. I'm helpless. I mean, why can't they stop this killing here? We don't know how to stop killing each other. Why don't some white folks come here? And when the white folks come here, why is it that they kill so many of us? And the white supremacists say, well, I don't kill as many of you on a daily basis as you kill each other. How about that?
Wow.
But we say, yeah, but you kill some of us and you're supposed to know better. All right, well, what is it that we're supposed to know? When we can't spend 10 minutes alone without going at each other's throats.
Correct.
And there's a reason for that. And we've been taught to do that. That's why we got to break training. Black culture, as it is now, is absolutely worthless. All of it.
1-877-932-9766. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller. This is Brother Muko from Baltimore.
Hey, Brother Muko.
Here. Mr. Fuller, you have been right on point. But as always, I want to ask you, can you please expound on for my care unit in Baltimore and all around the world, all other care units. I've been seeing a lot of people in the media. First, I see them not calling racism, white supremacy, what it is. Now I see them calling it what it is, but they're asking for the very important thing that you tell us and taught us not to ask for, and that is an apology. So can you please double down for my care unit in Baltimore the 3 things that we are not supposed to ask for, absolutely not under any circumstances, please?
Don't ask for an apology of anybody, anytime, under any circumstance, ever. As long as you are breathing and beyond, never ask anybody for an apology. That's number 1. Number 2, never ask for love. Let's see now, I'm trying to remember the 3rd one. Never ask for an apology, never ask for love, and never ask for respect. Never. Never, 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 ever. We sound silly doing that. You're asking for an apology? Now, where's the logic? Everything is supposed to be logical in codification. If you ask for an apology, it doesn't mean anything when you get it. The white supremacists will say, hey, you want an apology for slavery? You want an apology for, me mistreating you today? and for all the mistreatment I'm going to dump on you tomorrow, and what you want out of it is an apology? Well, boy, I mean, gal, that's what they call us. Hey, if that's all you want, how many do you want? I got truckloads of apologies. I got warehouses full of apologies. I mean, you just pick it. You want them in pastel colors or whatnot. You know, you want them in big letters. You want them in small letters. You want them in ancient print. You want them in. Hey, do you want an apology in Swahili? I got them. Hey, you know, line up, get the kitty cloth and all like that. You know, I'll shake your hand and apologize. I mean, you know, hey, you want tears to go along with it? I got them. Boy, do I ever have them. All right. I hope people get their point.
Yes, sir.
I mean, hey, we want compensation, and we don't want it in the form of no apology, no respect. We're not asking you for no respect ever. We don't care nothing about your respect. All right? You don't have to be courteous. You don't have to be none of that. We want something that's something we can use. You know, like justice. I mean, that's what we're asking for. Now, if you can't guarantee that nobody's mistreated ever, and guarantee that the people that need help the most get the most constructive help in all areas of activity, 24/7, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, no mistreatment of any kind, and constructive help of every kind, and we want that guaranteed 24/7 everywhere on the planet, all times, all places, regardless of geography or anything else. That's what we're asking for. If you can't guarantee that, come back and tell us you can. Because we're not asking for no apologies, no respect, and no love.
No love.
Period. Ever.
Okay.
Black people should come off of that. You're correct. The call is correct. Don't ever ask anybody for it. Because these are things that should be given without you asking. So you shouldn't ask for it. It ain't worth nothing when you got to ask for it.
All right. Thank you, Brother Muko.
I made that illustration.
Okay, all right.
Warehouses full of apologies they got.
All right. Thank you, Brother Muko. Thank you very much. That's Brother Muko from Baltimore. Let's do this. TalkTainmentradio.com is a 24/7, no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. And here's one that I'm going to share with you, and it is Senior Agenda with Lisa Stockdale. Now, if you have never listened to the Senior Agenda, you owe it to yourself and see what Sister Stockdale has to say. Now, that show normally premieres on Thursdays, which is what, tomorrow? Yeah. But check it out and see. And, hey, listen, while you're there, look at the other shows that TalkTainmentradio.com has, and just give a listen and see if you would like the show, because there are quite a few shows, and they're all different, and you get to know a little bit about the show host and all that pertinent information, all that on the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage. So give a listen, TalkTainmentRadio.com. Radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And the title of our show today is Phone Calls and Gmails Volume 1, which means there should be a Volume 2, maybe Volume 3. So if you'd like to call in on the show, you can, 1-877-932-9766. Or you can Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com, and we will try to answer as many questions as we can. We'd like to give Mr. Fuller ample time to give an explanation to the question. Here is a follow-up question, Mr. Fuller, where the gentleman asked about an apparent hierarchy in the non-white group of people that you describe. It appears, he says, as if people of African descent are treated worse than other groups of people, and statistics bear witness to this. I understand the concept that the white supremacist thrives on confusion and the treating various non-white groups differently will add to this confusion. He says, I'm trying to answer the question as to why people of African descent seem to be treated worse. Mr. Fuller?
Well, we've been trapped into that thing called African descent, because I really don't know what that means. Because the white supremacists themselves said, hey, we're Africans too. Open any anthropology book, and the white supremacists themselves say, we originated in Africa. All people originated in Africa, including white people. So if you're talking about African descent, so what are you talking about? I'm African too. And then the white supremacists, if they tell the truth, they'll say, hey boy, wake up and smell the coffee. It ain't where you're from. See, you black people got a thing about where you're from. It's what you are now and what you will be. It ain't where you're from. Everybody's from somewhere. So what? It's who has the power, boy. You ain't noticed that? Who has the power and how did they get it? And we know more about that than anybody, because we got it and you ain't. Now figure that one out. Now you can talk about where you're from all day long, and you can talk about where I'm from. So what? Where you're from is where you are now, and where you can go, and what you can do when you get there, each and every time, and nobody can stop you. And as a white supremacist, I ain't found nobody who can match that. Now that's the voice of the white supremacists.
Mm-hmm.
So we should get out of this thing of studying our navels. You know, that's what I call it.
Okay.
Sitting in a corner and talking about, well, you know, I got some great ancestors. Well, what does the code say about ancestors? You know what I say when people ask me about my ancestors? I say this, what I've written in the book. My ancestor invented breathing. And I never say nothing else. That's all I have to say. I don't look at any books and all like that. When I started talking about ancestors, and they started talking about what your ancestors did and going and picking through this and this artifact and that artifact, I never paid any attention to any of that. I simply say, Neely Fuller's, going under this slave name, ancestor, invented breathing. Why? Why do I know my ancestor invented breathing? Because I'm breathing. I could not be breathing without my ancestor inventing a thing called breathing. And it doesn't get any better than breathing. That's why I say that's the only artifact I need.
Okay.
It doesn't get, I don't know of anything better than breathing. Okay. For a person, an animal, a plant, or whatever. I don't know of anything. Whatever invented breathing, that was my ancestor.
Huh.
So now we can just, you know, when we sit down, it's a practical reason for this. Because, see, the white supremacists sit there and say, well, tell me all about your ancestors. You know, before you can get this job, I mean, you got to show me your background. I mean, have your people ever done anything worthwhile, blah, 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 blah? That's a trick. That's a massive trick. That's just something to take up a whole lot of your time and exhaust you, which the white supremacists are good at. So you just simply say, oh, my ancestor invented breathing. All right? So we can move on to something else.
Okay.
Right quick. Bam. Just like that.
Alrighty.
The codification is about moving fast right out the gate.
Right out the gate. Okay. Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller doesn't want us to think of him as our leader or mentor, and he certainly doesn't want us to follow him. The author, Neely Fuller Jr., suggests allowing logic to be our mentor. Mr. Fuller wants to be a signpost for the logic of the universe, which is cause and effect. The logic that came with the universe, which is cause and effect. What is the logic of cause and effect? It is the absolutes of the universe, like, for example, water is wet, fire will burn. The law of laws are the rules that govern the universe. Then he goes on with more. I don't see a question in here, but do you embrace that VGQ, or what is your answer to that?
Well, those words that I'm hearing are words that I've said on this program.
Yes.
So someone was repeating what I've said on this program, and I mean what I've said. I mean, from what I'm hearing now. And I say that's what it is. That's what I'm saying. I'm just a person that's just pointing out what's already there. I'm not a leader. The leaders of black people on this planet are all white. When you're a prisoner of war, you have a leader. The people that run the prison, they're our leaders. That's all. Now, what is a black person like myself, and who people sometimes will try to call a leader? I'm no leader. I'm not qualified to be a leader. I'm a prisoner of war. So I'm a spokesperson. So is every other black person a spokesperson. In other words, you're just a person walking around in the prison yard speaking. That's all. Speaking about what? Whatever you want to speak about. That's all I'm doing. And so I choose to speak about our prison conditions. The conditions in this prison are terrible. And the conditions in this prison shouldn't have existed in the first place, because we were made prisoners of war that we didn't have anything to do with.
Yes, sir.
We were captured before birth. The people that came before us were put into the prison. We were born in prison. So that's all that I am. And I'm just making that clear. That's all other non-white people are in the system of white supremacy. And when you look at it like that, you calm down and you start figuring on how to solve problems rather than walking around trying to figure out who's the big Negro in the cell block today.
So is logic, as he pointed out, is logic your mentor, not yours personally?
Absolutely. Logic is, if you're going to accomplish anything at all, even if you say that you are following a person, the person that you are following is supposed to use what?
Logic.
Otherwise, it's not logical to follow that person.
Yeah.
So you can go directly to the logic yourself. That's all. But the white supremacists say, hey, you black people can't know anything unless you come through me. You can't even think unless you come through me. I teach you how to think. And we say, yes, Bwana. I guess so, Bwana. I'll scratch my head, Bwana, and try to get my brain to moving, Bwana. Going down the road, poor Negro me. And if I can't figure something out on my own, I know I got to come to you forever and ever and ever, because I don't want to use my brain. I just want to turn flips and jump up and down and high five with my homies. That we've been trained to do that, like monkeys, like dogs.
Okay, listen here. Callers, stay right there. We have to do this. TalkTameAtRadio.com. We go where you go. Check us out on 94.1 WGRN, and podcasts are available. Download the TalkTameAtRadio.com app to your cellular, to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Now, right there, callers, stay right there. We're going to get to your call and your other call, callers, and more Gmails, all that coming up next here on TalkTameAtRadio.com.
TalkTameAtRadio.com is proud to present the compensatory concept. It is an effective system for countering the effects of white supremacy. Talktainmentradio.com is able to carry the first hour. However, the cost for the second hour is exceeding our limited budget. That is why we ask for your kind assistance in keeping the second hour on the air. If you believe like we do, help us in this struggle for justice. Go to the gold donate button on the Talktainmentradio.com web page and hit the gold donate button. That's the gold donate button. And please donate. Help us to keep the second hour of the compensatory concept on the air. Thank you.
For the best home fragrance and beauty products, shop Ash Kickin' online.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Made with 100% natural quality ingredients and handcrafted with your family in mind, Ash Kickin' products are better than those other guys. Ash Kickin' candles, incense, body butter, face moisturizer, and hair moisturizer are priced just right, and you can get yours at 10% off with coupon code TALK17. Support this 100% black-owned business and get your home and body smelling and feeling all right.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Shop Ash Kickin' online at www.ashkickin.com.
Are you ready for a high school that allows you to work at a place that is right for you? Are you ready to earn a certification in healthcare, business, or manufacturing while achieving your high school diploma? Then you are ready for Life Skills High School, a free public school option for high school students 16 to 21 years old. Learn more about your free high school educational options at lifeskillshs.org or call them at 1-800-888-7992. Life Skills High School, education that fits your life.
Stand by for an important announcement for renters and investors. You have probably heard about this bad economy and high foreclosure rate. I'm here to bring you hope. Every foreclosed property is a blessing or a deal for a new buyer or investor. These properties are selling every day all over Central Ohio for several reasons. They are equity rich, worth tens of thousands of dollars above their price. There is down payment money available and remodeling funds if needed. Don't let the doom and gloom news keep you from your dream of home ownership. Call Linco Realty today at 865-9614. That's 865-9614. Call now. Always remember, these times, like all times, are good times if we but know what to do with them. They also have programs for investors who want to get off the couch and run with the big dogs. Call Linco today at 865-9614 or log on to repohomeslist.com.
If you or someone you know is abusing drugs and or alcohol and want to stop the abuse, contact APDS at 1409 East Livingston Avenue. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. APDS is certified by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and primarily funded through the Adam H. Board. Fees are based on your income and Medicaid is always accepted. For more information, call 614-253-4448.
This is Al Edmondson, owner of a Cutter Brother Rest Barbershop. I'm calling on all barbers and beauticians. It's time for us to unite as one. We can serve our communities better together. Join the Ohio Black Barber Beauty Network. For more information, visit www.obbn.org or call 614-427-3226 to get more information. Be the change that you want to see in your community. Join our network.
Sex Code War by Kahari Inaharo. The author of the Essence magazine bestseller Race Code War is releasing his second book, Sex Code War. Be on the lookout for Sex Code War.
Here's an idea. You've heard of the notion of pay it forward? It comes from the 2000 movie Pay It Forward. Basically, the premise is helping someone with no expectations of payback, providing assistance to someone, passing information on, simply doing a good deed for a total stranger, and instead of allowing them to pay it back, ask them to pay it forward. Doing favors for other people and asking them to do the same. The principle is the same as multi-level marketing, except that instead of soap or vitamins, it's generosity between strangers that is being passed on. Pay It Forward is mentoring. It's volunteering in your community. It's shoveling a neighbor's snow or cutting an elderly person's grass for them or taking a senior to the store. Don't wait for someone else to do something good. Do it yourself. It starts with you. Talktainment Radio strongly embraces the notion of pay it forward. In fact, we just did.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Go ahead. Make my day.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You got the power.
Okay, TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cellular, to your tablet. That is radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host of the Compensatory Concept on TalkTainmentRadio.com. You can call me or call Mr. Fuller at 1-877-932-9766 or Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y at gmail.com. Let's go to the phone lines. Okay, caller. You got Mr. Fuller. Go ahead.
Hello, gentlemen. It's great to talk to you.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So this is a follow-up. This is another follow-up question, and it relates to the concept that white supremacists are dominant because they're smarter. And here's a little background. Mr. Fuller often speaks about replacing the system of racism, white supremacy with a system of justice. And there is a Christian belief to which many black people subscribe, which teaches that this will ultimately happen. The teaching kind of goes like there will be a judgment and where justice will be served, and people will be rewarded according to their deeds. Does Mr. Fuller, do you subscribe to this view, and would you agree that if this belief comes true, the white supremacists who now appear to be the smartest will actually turn out to be the fools?
Oh, I say I don't know. But the position I have taken, according to my religion, which is eclectic pluralism, and that's described in the book. That's the name that I gave to it because that's the only religion I've ever really had. I used to call myself a Christian, but I wasn't qualified to call myself that. I don't think people should put a label on themselves where they are not qualified to have that label. I wasn't doing the things that they say a Christian is supposed to do, and then even that became very controversial because I saw people who call themselves Christians doing all sorts of things, and I became, confused. Now, one thing that the code is strictly anti, and that's anti-confusion. In other words, whatever you're supposed to be or whatever you're supposed to be doing and all like that, you don't put the incorrect labels on bottles or cans or anything. Whatever is on the label, that's what's supposed to be in the can. So, eclectic pluralism really refers to, it's just, these are terms that I just picked out of the dictionary, and I call it a religion because it's a religion I've always had. I'm a confused person because in the system of white supremacy, with everybody talking at me and everybody is saying that they are right, and they're saying that the other person talking is wrong, I get confused, particularly when there's hundreds and thousands of people doing this each and every day. That person is right, the other person is wrong, and and so I'm in the mix. And so at a certain point, I don't know what to believe or who to believe. So I have to be patient and observant until I can make up my mind. That's the logical compensatory procedure. You find yourself amidst a whole bunch of confusion, and so therefore you have to figure things out in confusion, particularly when everybody says, I got it all, I know it all. Those people down the road don't know nothing. Mm-hmm. They don't got no idea what they're talking about. They're being misled. Now, when everybody is saying that around you, it means you have to back off and do some thinking of your own. And that's what I do. That's the formula that I describe what eclecticism is in the textbook for victims of white supremacy that you can get by going to producejustice.com. But that's the position that I take.
Okay.
And so I say I simply don't know when it comes to these different religions, different philosophies, even when it comes to Republicans and Democrats, or communists, or capitalists, or socialists. I say I'm listening, but everybody's talking at me, as the song says, but I'm not making sense out of a word they're saying, particularly when they're contradicting each other and sometimes contradicting themselves. And I'm listening very carefully. So I say what you have here is monumental confusion. So maybe one of these days, when some Messiah appears, the confusion will end. Maybe not till that day. So that comes down to one question. What am I supposed to be doing in the meantime? So I say, well, do the best I can with the mess that I'm in. And that's what codification is basically all about. Do the best that you can in this prison system that's completely weird and completely destructive, called the system of white supremacy that we are in.
Okay.
Because that's the strongest religious philosophy that has ever appeared among the people of this planet.
Sure. Okay, here's another question. Mr. Fuller, is it logical to assume that black females are more emotional than black males, and that as a result, we should all adjust how we communicate with each other to improve the quality of our relationships?
Well, when we come to emotions, I say that all non-white people are emotional in a way that they should not be, because we've been trained that way. That's why we are in the shape that we're in. We don't attach our emotions to logic, because we have been trained not to by the white supremacists, presumably. So we interact with each other in this harem-scarum fashion, and that will continue until we get codified. So, and even then, in the system of white supremacy, and I tell people, because people ask me about relationships between black males and black females, for instance, and I said, one thing you should start off and finish with this premise: you're not going to get it the way it ought to be. I don't care how you shake it up and pour it. I don't care what programs you listen to, what psychiatrists you go to, and all like that. You will never, ever, in the system of white supremacy, get the interaction between black males and black females the way that it ought to be. You'll never get that in the system of white supremacy.
Okay.
The system of white supremacy automatically shuts that down. All you can get is a sort of a tacky interaction that you do the best thing that you can with. That way you're never disappointed.
I see. Okay.
See, that's the whole idea. You don't want to be disappointed, because too many people saying, I was looking forward to this happy life with this person and all like that. No. You look forward to a few moments of happiness in between a whole bunch of mess.
Okay. Concluding this, he said, is it logical to assume that because whites have gotten gay marriage legalized, that eventually their perversion will eventually include legalization of pedophilia, like they are legalizing bestiality all over the country and the world now?
It's logical to assume the white supremacists will do anything that will cause massive confusion in the eighth area of activity, in the area of what we call sex, among the non-white people of this planet. Why? Sex is very powerful. Sex, religion, very powerful. So the white supremacists make sure that they always lead in religion and in sexual matters black people into complete mass confusion, non-constructive confusion of every kind that they can possibly think of. That is their plan, and their plan has worked very well, and they're ramping it up like you wouldn't believe. Everywhere, television, everywhere, the ads, everywhere.
Like that
they're
man
ramping it up. I mean, they're getting as much. They are trying to come up with more ideas for confusion than you can ever dream of, and they're going to continue to do this, because going back to the 1960s and the late 1950s, when black people all over the world began to kind of wake up to this thing called white supremacy and tap into it, the white supremacists saw this coming, and they say, we got to head it off. And two ways to head it off, even without dealing with economics and education and whatnot, say we can make scraps out of most of these non-white people, if not all, in the areas of religion and sex in particular. Confuse them to the max. Have them so that they can't even describe what sex, is supposed to be or ever was or could be or whatnot. Just have them just going around just doing a little of everything that you can possibly think of. And they spend midnight oil with their feet on the desk, looking at each other, trading ideas about how they can maximize confusion among non-white people.
So then,
area of sex.
So then, it is not strange that a man married his horse. That's not strange.
Oh, they'll have you marrying a tree. Just anything. Well, you don't know what to do with your sex organ.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you don't even know what it's for.
Wow. Okay. Let's take a phone call here. Caller, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Hello, caller? You're not on? Okay, all right. Okay, TalkTameRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTameRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Okay, I am Mr. Bobby, the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and our show title today has been Phone Calls and Gmails, Volume 1. And Mr. Fuller has talked extensively about that. But one of the provocative things that he had said, that the white supremacists are making you a slave to your possessions. Don't do that. Don't do that. But at this time, we're going to have Mr. Fuller speak about his book. Mr. Fuller, go ahead, please.
Go to producejustice.com. Producejustice.com. And there you will find the basic textbook, the updated version from the 1984 edition, the 2016 revised and expanded edition of the basic textbook, and the addition to it. I could call it a supplement, but actually it's an addition. It's an extension of the basic textbook, which is called the Compensatory Counter-Racist Word Guide, showing you how to use words, how not to use words, and last but not least, what questions to ask when people use certain terms. In the early part of this program, when people talk about Western civilization, you ask, well, wait a minute, what is the definition of Western civilization? I mean, can a direction be civilized? What are you talking about when you say that? And answer don't try to answer the question, rather, even though I just kind of dipped into it myself just now. But that's not the way to do it. Say, what do you mean, sir or ma'am, when you say Western civilization? First of all, what do you mean by Western? So you take each word apart. And what do you mean by civilization? When do you have a civilization? Why is a civilization a civilization? What makes a situation civilized? See, just question after question after question after question, because that's what the textbook is about. It's about always pay attention to everything going on around you and have maybe 2,000 questions about just one thing. It might be as many as 2,000 questions about one thing before you finally get the correct answer to that one thing that you're talking about. So get in the habit of doing that. Now, the code tries to lead us to do that. Why? Because that's the formula for logic. Because all logic is about what? Questions and answers. If you've ever been in any classroom, everything in that classroom, if you're going to get anything done, is about just one procedure. Questions, answers. Questions, answers. Questions, answers. All day long. And so the textbook is directed to individual victims of white supremacy. All right? About how to become codified. Codified meaning how best to go about getting things done each and every day, wherever you happen to be on the planet, in this prison system called The System of White Supremacy. But you can get these guidebooks, you might say, just suggestions. They're not doctrinaire. They're just suggestions. They're not dictatorship. They're just suggestions by one author, Neely Fuller, that you can sample. Pick out the things that make sense to you. Leave the things that don't make sense to you alone. And use the things that make sense to you and see if they work. And you can get the book by going to producejustice.com. Producejustice.com.
Okay, there you have your instructions. Alrighty, let's go to the phone lines here. Caller, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller. Mr. Fuller, I just wanted to ask you, have you considered off-grid living as a possibility of non-white people ending the system of white supremacy? Because as long as I have to depend on the local power company for my light, I have to pay them, I have to depend on, I have a mortgage for my shelter, I have to have a car loan, I have a student loan, I'm going to always be more a subject of the prison. Have you considered off-grid living as a formidable solution, and why or why not have you considered it? And then I also wanted to say, you said earlier on the program that you speak on the air some other areas, some other times on AM and FM stations. Could you please just let us know when you talk to the public live, so that those of us that want to hear every word you have to say, even though I know you don't want to be a leader, but we still need to hear your interpretation of the code, as long as you are here and willing and able to give us your interpretation. So please let us know what times and when you're on the air, so we can hopefully try to tune in. Thank you.
Go to producejustice.com for that, for any information about when I'm going on the air on another station other than Talktainment Radio. It's all at producejustice.com. See, whatever information I have to put out here other than through talktainmentradio.com will be at my website, producejustice.com. Now, I didn't get the first part of your question.
Hello, caller? Yeah, go ahead, caller.
The off-grid living, is like just getting solar panels to get to power, to first getting out of the matrix of having that thinking that we own property, because you never own any property. Number two, getting off-grid living, or going somewhere where you can that permits off-the-grid living, which there are areas here, and finding a way to produce your own power, grow your own food. Just get off the grid. This way you're not dependent on the white supremacists to provide you with the necessities of living on the planet.
Okay, Mr. Fuller?
Have you considered that?
Well, okay. In answer to the question, I have to go back to the prisoner format. You're in a prison. Just imagine yourself being in a prison. Many black people have been in what we call greater confinement, and that gives them an idea of what a prison is like. But the entire Earth, planet Earth, is a prison for any person of color in the system of white supremacy. So you're always, you don't own anything. It's impossible to own anything when you are owned. That's another thing people have to get in our heads. We don't own anything. I don't own anything. I don't even have control over what I call my family, because I really don't have a family. I call them, in the textbook for victims of white supremacy, care units, meaning we're just caring about each other, but that's just like slaves on a slave ship. They care about each other, but they're not in control of anything. So that's the situation that we're in. So if you can get a little extra piece of cornbread or something and feed it to your offspring and all like that, you get it. If some of the sailors up on the decks and whatnot happen to come down and leave something behind that you can use and whatnot, because that's usually what we get anyway, what the white supremacists leave behind. And so we just take it and use it as best we can. So in answer to the question, you just do the best you can with what you have, what the white supremacists allow you to have, because you're not going to have nothing that they don't allow you to have. Now, that's out of the question. Anything that you get, you better believe they know something about how you got it, because they provide everything. Because we are not owners of anything. There's no place we can go on this planet. Or even if we think that we can go out of space somewhere, the white supremacists has to take us there. We don't have any knowledge of how to do that on our own, and they're not going to let us do it on our own anyway without him knowing, him and her, racist man, racist woman. We should understand, first of all, white supremacy. That's why I put that in the front of our book. The reason we get confused about everything every day is because we don't understand that we are prisoners of war and everything that goes with that. We possess absolutely nothing. And that's what makes us so crazy, which is what we are, because we think that we're in a different situation from where we are. And the more we try to think that, the crazier we get and act. And that's been proven, because we're getting away from the truth. We first have to admit that we're as helpless as newborn babies in the system of white supremacy, and that's the first step toward becoming grown, is to recognize that you're a baby.
Wow. I was just getting a G-Mom, Mr. Fuller, about you brought up that Steve King, and one of them just said, in case you didn't already know, the Republican Party are a bunch of liars. Representative Steve King, they said that they didn't know his white supremacist views. Then they said that is equivalent to a woman who had just had a baby but said she didn't know she was pregnant. Wow. Woo, VGQ. VGQ. Well, what have we learned, today? That statement you made about white supremacists are making us a slave to our possession seems to be a very provocative statement, because this is the pattern, Mr. Fuller, I'm asking. This is the pattern that you have seen them do. I'm asking.
Particularly in the northwestern hemisphere. See, now, a lot of people, you take in somewhere in Congo or in Uganda or in Mali, somewhere, there are a lot of people who don't have a spoke for a bicycle wheel. Lots of them. They don't have anything. They're barefoot. Okay? Millions of people don't have a decent pair of shoes on this planet. People of color. But then there are a lot of black people in the northwestern hemisphere who have shoes on their feet. And we have other possessions. We have a car we have been allowed to have. At one time, cars were very difficult for black people to get in the northwestern hemisphere. In fact, I came up during a time when we would say, oh, we're talking about the guy with the green car. Why? Because everybody knows the guy with the car. Because very, very few black people had a car. Period. Very few black people had a bicycle. Period. There was a time when that was true. Okay? Now, the white supremacists have a surplus of stuff. That's usually when black people get stuff. When they got stuff to throw away. And they got tons of stuff to throw away. And really, I'd like to say this while I'm on it. A lot of black people, even in 2019, have this insanity of running around trying to steal something that they could get the same thing somewhere across town, piles of it, for free.
Wow.
Because the white supremacists got so much stuff that they threw it away. Anybody who's ever worked for a moving company, and I never did, but there are people that do, can probably tell you this.
I apologize.
I mean, they come out and say, hey, you want this? You want that?
I apologize, Mr. Fuller. They tell me I got to wrap it up.
Right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fuller, and thank you, callers. Sorry for that interruption, but they tell me I got to wrap it up. TalkTimeRadio.com, the world's greatest radio the way it should be heard. Hopefully, we'll see you next week on TalkTimeRadio.com. Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
The most important question in all racial matters is why. One should always ask it.
Radio, the way it should be heard.
You've got the power. The world's greatest radio. TalkTainmentRadio.com.